Hi, Internet. It's your girl, Curry Bradshaw here. Um, I have been on this 3 year long journey of pursuing stand up comedy, and I thought I would just come on the internet and talk about some accomplishments because I haven't really sat down and reflected in this kind of way. But also, I watch a lot of like artist interviews in my spare time to make sense of my reality, get some inspiration, and as a result, I've been fed all of like Dochi's old videos of her like pursuing her art, doing morning pages, doing the artist's way, and I thought it would be cool to come on here and talk about my journey. I truthfully don't have the capacity to be like, come with me as I do all this stuff, but um, I do feel like it's important to share when dreams come true. Um, I'm a big believer in manifestations, affirmations, and I don't feel the need to share them out loud here because I feel like manifestations are private and people can't put any negative juju on it if they don't even know what your dreams are. So you don't need to tell anyone about them. But a lot of my manifestations have come true, and it's part being aligned to your true self, um, doing the work of actually attaining those opportunities and blessings, and also being really clear and setting intention about what it is that you want. And those three things have gotten me very far. Um, I'm only going to speak about this year because we are now at the midpoint and it's June 2025. So I thought it would be cool to talk about what has happened in Q1 and Q2. I originally had a plan of doing this video in Q1 and then doing one every quarter, but here we are. So you're going to get what you get. And unlike Dochi, I will never be putting a man on this. I will never be showing that stuff. Hell to the no. That's too much power. Too much power. I like sharing, but I like sharing selectively. Anyway, so I thought I'd talk about some accomplishments that I've had in Q1. First of all, I randomly got a lot of press that I didn't expect. This podcast, interview, whatever you want to call it, called Friends of Friends here in Toronto. I was very lucky to be considered to be interviewed for them. And it was really chill, really dope. The boys are so sweet who did the hosting. And that was really cool. I really needed that. I didn't know that I needed that, but I did. And that was really helpful to establish me in the Toronto scene. Toronto is not like known that much for comedy. I mean, unless you're into comedy, it's not really like something that people who are not into comedy go see. Whereas in New York, people who aren't even into comedy will go see comedy because that's the thing you're supposed to do in New York because it's like a very touristy place, but it's like known for comedy. So, yeah, it was really good to be interviewed with them. Then a San Francisco based comedy newsletter reached out to me as well, and that was really cool. And it was based on him finding me through that interview with Friends of Friends show. So it's really cool how things align in that way. And there was something else I'm kind of forgetting right now, but if I remember what it is, I will come back here. But the interesting thing is, before any of those things happened, I wrote to myself that, I would like to be interviewed, but I don't know how, and I don't know, do I even deserve to be interviewed? Like, who the hell am I? And so then the opportunities came. So it's like, I don't even know how sometimes. And like a lot of manifestation books that I read, it's like manifesting is really believing that it's going to happen. It's like you order something from Amazon, you know it's coming. Once you order it, you know it's coming. Like there's a knowing, and that Delulu knowing is something that I think a lot of us artists need to have in order to survive. Um, and believe in ourselves and do the work that we do and believe in it wholeheartedly. So um, it was really cool that those opportunities came. Oh, I remember the third one. It was my comedian friends, Hello, Jay, and Ray, and they did this. It was a satirical interview style thing that we did, which is on my YouTube page. So if you go to my YouTube homepage, you can check those out, where we review that chef show. Isn't it called Chef? No, The Bear. We talk about The Bear, and we're reviewing The Bear. Anyway, so that was really, really cool. I also, excuse me, got to open for Usama Siddiqui, Bengali comic from New York, and that was really cool. I had seen him years ago. I think it was 2022, shortly before I started stand-up, that, and Just Like That started with Carrie Bradshaw, Sarah Jessica Parker. They brought back the remake or the spin-off of Sex and the City, and I was watching a show with someone, and they're like, he was in one of the episodes, sitting in the front steps of Carrie Bradshaw's, stoop or whatever, and just making a racket. And the person I was watching it with was like, this person is a Bengali comic. I was like, what? And so immediately followed and discovered him on like different Netflix shows, and just so proud as a Bangladeshi to see another Bengali making it. And so, yeah, I just reached out to him and was like, hey, I see you're coming to Toronto. No pressure, but if you're looking for an opener, please let me know. And if not, no worries. I'll still be there. I will still support you. So, it was funny. He's like, oh, we're like kind of filled right now. And I was like, no worries, no problem. I'll be there. And then sure enough, like, I get a notification on Instagram saying that, hey guys, come to my show from Osama Siddiqui's page. Like, he lists out the comics we're going to open for him, and it included me. And I'm like, comedians are so disorganized. Like, that's how I found out I was on the show. He didn't even confirm with me through DMs, but, it's fine. It is what it is. I'm just glad. I was glad to even be considered. So that was a really cool opportunity to get some exposure here. But I think despite the opportunity happening, I was still like, I don't know if people get my jokes. I think sometimes like I have such a niche experience, like I ran away from home. I'm not really like in with the Bengali crew and community. I'm unmarried. I'm childless, and these are the things I talk about. And being in that situation, and then also talking about sex, dating, and relationships in an open manner is something that I think, unfortunately, a lot of our community members are really not used to. And he draws a crowd of predominantly brown people. But it's interesting, and this is a whole next conversation that we can have if anyone who's watching is interested, is that when a South Asian man talks about sex, dating, and relationships, it's more acceptable, even if they're in the same age group. But when a woman does those things, she sticks out like a sore thumb, So it's like, while many straight white women talk about sex and sexuality, being a Muslim woman and a South Asian woman talking about these things, being unmarried and childless, and talking about sex, dating, and relationships is a whole other level. That makes it really hard to relate to people. And I'm 36 going on 37, so it's not like I'm in my early 30s. I'm later in my 30s and don't want to have kids. So, it's just really interesting, because sometimes they're looking at me doughy-eyed, even if I know they're funny and I think the jokes are working, and some people are laughing. Not everyone is laughing. So that was an interesting experience for sure. So yeah, that was a cool opportunity. I was grateful to meet him. I've met him before as a fan and like have talked to him and stuff. So it was really nice to be brought on as a guest on a show. That was really cool. Um, and yeah, it was awesome. Then, we started planning for our New York show. Me and Annabella had rebranded our show that we had done in New York last year in November to Tamarind Things. We were calling it Bradshaw and Friends before, but then I realized that like it kind of left Annabella out, so we're like, let's turn it into something else. So we rebranded and we performed again at Cafe Erzuli. I continued to produce shows here in Toronto, and I did another Desi show, Brown Clowns. I didn't want to call it Desi anymore because Desi doesn't really represent me. I don't consider myself Desi. I'm Deshi, so like, called it Brown Clowns. We did another show called Nice Guys Finish Jokes. That was pretty cool. And then we did a queer show, queer all-star show, so that was really cool. Um, and then the last show we did before we went to New York was Women Aren't Funny, They're Hilarious, and I think that was the best show to this day. Like, the venue that I work with is called the Annex Hotel. It's here in Toronto at Bathurst and Bloor, Spadina and Bloor area. Actually, more closer to Spadina and Bloor, but I've been very lucky to work with them. They've been very supportive of my entire career as I've been growing. But this space is significantly smaller. It holds maybe 25 max, I would say 40 people with standing room. And the intimacy of that room is really what creates the vibe. And I don't know, after doing it a couple of times, I was kind of like feeling like, oh, why am I doing this? It's so much effort, not enough gain, not making that much money off of it. But that show really solidified a lot of things to me. One, because the room was filled. Two, because every single person was engaged. Three, unintentionally, every single person in there, predominantly women, I would say there was like 3 guys in the audience, all worked in women, we're all women in STEM. And like, that became the running joke for the evening, how they're all smart and I'm this dumb comedian. But like, it was an incredible event. Everyone did such a great job. All the comics, all the artists killed. The audience was so supportive and so encouraging and so smart and so intelligent. The staff, the servers who had seen the show happen multiple times, as they were passing drinks to people, they would like whisper to me and they're like, "This is the best show you've ever done. Like, this is fire. It's so good." And I was like, damn, like it made me feel like all those days of me wanting to quit, it just felt affirmed. It really did. And one of my girlfriends who helps with registration all the time, shout out to Reggie Bay, she was like, you should just focus on women. Like, don't even do all of this other stuff that you're trying to do. Just do this. Like, this is working. This is your sweet spot. And I think I just might, I think I just might because, yeah, it's a thing here. And if you're wondering why I want to quit stand-up all the time, is because it doesn't make that much money. Producing a comedy show is a lot of work. If you want to produce it well, if you want to sell it well, in a city that is not a comedy city, in a venue that is not a comedy venue. So these are like a lot of challenges that I possess, but also sometimes it becomes really challenging for me as a woman that does openly talk about private things to talk about it on a regular basis. When I transitioned from being a deeply private person and deeply not online person. I mean, I was online, but like to my friends and like on a private account. So like that's just very different than putting yourself out there for public consumption and for you to be criticized or loved. Either way you look at it, it's just you're out there for people to consume in any way, shape, or form. So I just feel weird and nervous about that all the time. And it's a catch-22 because on the one hand you want to be recognized for the work that you do, and you're doing all this work and you hope that someone sees it, but at the same time it's this question of self, and the self that you know, that your friends know who you are, and then there's the version of the self that people are consuming and where they think they know you or they can speak to you in a specific way. Particularly straight men, which I find really annoying, and incredibly problematic and deep rooted in misogyny, and also probably why I don't hang out with a lot of comics, to be honest. I don't care that much about the scene. I don't care that much about, being accepted by other comedians in Toronto when they didn't even accept me when I first came in. And not everyone, for sure, but like, I think a lot of comedians struggle, and myself included, with mental health issues, and I want to work through my mental health issues, and I want to be around people that are stable so that I can learn those things through osmosis. And when you're around people that are highly unstable, there's a lot of substance abuse, there's a lot of, drinking, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever you want to call it, and I don't have the capacity to be around that anymore. I'm not in high school. I'm a grown adult. I like to have adult friendships that are not rooted only in performance, and a lot of performers do so to feel validated by audiences, and I did too. I think I definitely did as well. And you to say that you don't want to be validated is like a lot. I'm not saying I don't want to be validated at all by audience, because you need that validation in order to succeed. If you're not funny, you're just not funny, and people will let you know that. But what I mean is that like my whole existence doesn't depend on that validation. And whereas at the beginning it certainly did, because I felt the reason I did it was because no one in my life was listening to me. No one in my life that I thought was supposed to support me, or the people that I held in such high regard were supposed to believe in me and support me in a certain way or listen to me, and I just felt like I wasn't being listened to. So that validation was definitely coming from audience and feeling that validation, but it's not real. It's not. What is real is your support system, your care for your mental health, your willingness to grow and evolve and change and establish your boundaries and your needs and blah 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 blah. So, yeah, it's been a challenge. So I just kind of wanted to go into the thought process of why I want to quit. But I think the nature of, um, you know, wanting to pursue stand up has changed also for me. I think at the beginning I was putting myself out there a lot. I had like oh my god, like so much. I was just posting on Instagram all the time, and I pared back significantly in December. I just knew that I wanted to change my perspective or use social media in a different way to promote like what it is that I do. I also knew when I was pushing myself to a certain extent at that level that I was pushing myself at was also intentional to get myself to a place where I don't have to post anymore, if that makes any sense. I think another challenge that it has posed was struggling to find stability financially. I've gotten laid off twice since I started stand up. A part of the reason I started stand up is because I got a nice severance pay, and I was like getting booked everywhere, like at my first year of stand up, because I was really getting recognized in the local Toronto scene. And I wanted to ride that wave, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to use my severance and just ride this wave, you know. But shortly after that, obviously, everything, money is temporary, and it ran out. And it's just been a real struggle to figure out how to position myself financially. Um, and I've had some help here and there, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. And now I've come to a place where, okay, I'm doing some freelance work and also understanding what aspects of performance actually gets you paid versus stand up. Stand up is such a thing that doesn't get paid that well, that most comics definitely know about unless you get to a certain level, a certain caliber, but you're going to be chasing that caliber for some time. Um, yeah, it takes a long time for people to get to a stage where they're getting specials and stuff like that. But, I don't like to think in limited terms. I think anything is possible. It's just a matter of like what it is that you want. And I went on a little bit on a tangent there, but all this is to say is that things have been figured out, and the mental game is like the biggest game that I have to play, because I want to progress in a way where my life is supported by artistic endeavors. And if you don't know me and you're watching this, I've been, using art as a tool to express myself since I was 15 years old, surviving the trauma that I was facing as a kid with neglectful and abusive parents. And now I've come to this place where I keep coming back to the same conclusion, which is that art is the thing that's going to make me heal for the rest of my life, and I don't think I could ever let it go. And I'm glad I found a place within stand-up, but I also want to make sure that I accomplish other goals I have outside of stand-up that are also artistic, because I've always been this way. And anyone who's known me from high school knows that I've been this way. I went to a math and sciences high school, and I was one of the few kids that were doing art very regularly, winning awards, directing, writing screenplays, casting people, filming live shows, being in the dark room, developing photographs, being on the morning radio, hosting talent shows. I was that girl, and that is in me, and it's not gonna stop. So I'm excited to pursue some other ventures that have also started in Q2. The number one thing being Bay of Bengal Studios and starting a clothing line, which has always been a dream of mine. I'm super, super excited. The first corset that we're making with Gamcha fabric is taking place right now. So I'm so excited to, think about everything that is involved, with that. Entrepreneurship is something that is still very new to me, but I'm learning a lot, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Also with Whole Action Radio, dealing with all of this physical, I've been dealing with some physical health stuff, and haven't really publicized too much because I don't want to make pain my story or pain my narrative, but it's a very real thing that I have to navigate, and I miss dancing. I miss having the energy to be in a club for a while, to dance. I miss wearing heels. I miss doing simple things. And Whole Action Radio is a spin-off of Soul Action Radio, and is a way for me to express myself sonically. As a kid that also grew up on Bollywood movies, that grew up imagining a lot because I just wanted to escape my reality, which was trash. So I'm fulfilling all of my childhood dreams, and that is definitely one of them. in addition to Bay of Bengal Studio. And then Tamarind Sings, which is our comedy show that I produce everywhere that's not in Canada. So we're producing some shows soon again in New York and hopefully in LA. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where that goes. It's been really fun working with some friends down in the States, getting my footing out there, helping people see who I am and what it is that I do, and hopefully they think I'm funny down there too. But I'm excited to see where the future takes me. This is not the end of Q2 yet. We are in mid-June, but that is all I really have to say. Oh, and the last thing I'll say is I actually emceed a show for Luminato Festival on Saturday, and I'm still pretty high off of that. There was like 2,000 people on the stage, or in the audience, sorry, and incredible, incredible. I would love to do some more emceeing soon. So yeah, if you've been watching for the 26 minutes that I've been talking my ear off to you, thank you so much. If you've been along for this journey, for this ride, I really appreciate you so much. Your attention and your energy and your care in listening to anything I've had to say has meant a lot to me and has gotten me this far. I'm trying to get my social game up because in my heart of hearts, I don't care about it, but I also know that the public cares about it. So if you are watching this and would like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be really helpful. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers at the end of this year. I'm at 55 subscribers now. For TikTok, I'm trying to get to 1K followers. I think I have like 866 followers. On IG, I have like 1.7K followers. I'm trying to get to 2K by the end of this year. These are very small wins for me, but it would mean a lot as an independent artist that, yeah, does pretty much everything myself. I would really appreciate it. So thank you for listening, and hopefully if you've listened to this, it inspires you to be on whatever journey that you are on as well. And I wish you all the best of luck. I wish you alignment. I wish you peace. I wish you gratitude. And be on your way. Have a great day. Bye.